Hello world, I'm back with a story to tell. I think one of the most interesting stories of my life is my coming out story and all the things that came before that, the moment that it happened, the aftermath of it, and what it was like to grow into my queer self. I think this story is going to be told in 3 parts. The first part being me growing up, being in the closet entirely, not knowing at all that I was queer, and growing up in a homophobic culture, also myself being homophobic as someone who was exposed to almost no gay culture and just only fed hateful propaganda. So that will be the topic of this video. The second video will be leading up to my coming out experience when I was 20 years old in college, and the reaction from the Christian community that I was a part of at that time. And the third video will be what happened after all of that, how I came to terms with myself, and what it was like to grow into a self-loving queer person. So I decided to title this part of my coming out story Not Born This Way, because my journey doesn't reflect that very strong narrative in the queer community that we are born this way and that's what makes us valid. I don't know if I was born lesbian. There's no way for me to know that. I was not aware of my queer self, nor did I have any lesbian thoughts or inclinations pretty much up until the moment that I kissed a woman. And that mostly happened out of curiosity, so it's kind of by chance that I discovered that I'm a lesbian. I definitely felt a little bit different than most of the girls around me, but I just attributed that mostly to being a tomboy. That didn't seem completely unusual. I wasn't the only girl my age who was still wanting to wear more gender-neutral clothes, not wear dresses. There was no mainstream gay culture when I was growing up in the 90s. I had very few gay references in culture. I had almost no gay or queer interactions in my personal life. It really wasn't talked about that much, honestly. It just simply didn't exist. You grow up in a world where you just really think that love can only happen between a man and a woman, and that's how it goes. It's not such a crazy far-fetched idea to believe that love can happen between 2 people. It's basically the same thing. For some reason, conservative cultures just limit themselves so much to just seeing that possibility only existing between a man and a woman, and because that was the only thing that I was told, that is what I believed growing up. I believed that I would get married, I wanted to have boyfriends, I wanted to have a husband. I just never really questioned that that wouldn't happen for me, because I knew that of course I wanted love in my life. Naturally, there was only one way for that to happen, for me to find a man to share that with. As early as age 4, I can remember rejecting wanting to wear dresses. That already was pretty much off the table. Of course, I was still forced into doing it, especially when going to church. I want to say by the time I was age 8 or 9, I definitely was identifying as a tomboy. I wanted to wear more sporty clothes. I loved Old Navy. Old Navy was cool back in the day in like 1997. I wanted to wear Quicksilver and Roxy, all the cool surf brands. That was really cool for me. I was just a really sporty girl. My grandma had 4 sons and 4 grandchildren, of which I was the only girl. She was obsessed with raising me into the perfect girl, and my grandma was very extravagant. She was bejeweled and hair always dyed, nails always done, Botox, the whole shebang. She wanted me to be like that. So from a very young age, I was getting manicures and pedicures and getting my hair done. She started giving me highlights when I was 11 or 12. And every 6 months from there until I left home, I had to get highlights. Like, I was under my grandma's control in terms of my gender expression. That was something that was really difficult for me. I experienced a lot of anxiety in those situations. We also spent a lot of time shopping, and in those times I would kind of try to exercise my own style. but it wasn't entirely possible. Like, it wasn't normal for a girl to shop in the boys section. Unfortunately, I was just impressed with so many other opinions about what love is and what it is to be a girl, a woman, that I didn't really have much space to discover what I even wanted myself. And I think that's pretty much the reason that it took me so long to come out. Whenever gay references came into my life throughout my life, it was always derogatory and it was always looked down upon and considered bad. So even though it didn't happen very often, it definitely was like extremely taboo and was not okay. There really wasn't gayness. That was not happening. So then this whole trend of using gay and homo as an insult came into pop culture, and I mean, I, like everyone else I knew, took it up with no problem. This was the culture, and this is like 2004, 2005. I mean, all the way up probably until I graduated high school, people were still saying gay, 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 no homo, homo, no homo, all the things. Like, it was just the thing to do. It created such an environment where, like, it just wasn't even possible for people to be gay. All of that insults and bullying that I did contributed to my internalized homophobia that I had to deal with for years later. It wasn't healthy for anyone, and it certainly didn't help me to have any tools to come to terms with myself. I just went with what I thought I was supposed to do, and I just really wanted to blend in. By the time I graduated from high school, my favorite store was American Eagle. I had blonde highlighted hair against my will that was always in a ponytail. I had a collared shirt on. I had my faded jeans, wearing some flip-flops, you know. I had no style. I just looked like the mannequin at all of the regular people's stores. That's who I was, leaving my hometown, going into college. It wasn't until I went to college that I started to come into contact with gay people, and my whole world started turning around. I started having to question things that I learned from Christianity, things that I learned from my conservative culture. That started to be a really transformative moment. I had no idea that I was gay growing up. When these things are not available as possibilities in a culture, people don't consider them as much. So of course now we're seeing so many young people come out as gay, queer, bi, trans, non-binary, all the things, because they see more representation of that, so people are able to see it reflected more in them. Sometimes I wonder, like, if I hadn't by chance realized that I was a homo, could I just be living a normal life, being a straight person, just like, you know, settling and being fine with just whatever? I don't know if I could have been happy with that life, but I am so much happier with my lesbian life, with my queer life, with my non-binary life. I love it. I'm so happy that I came into contact with gay people and that I had the bravery to explore myself, even though that is not something that was inherently inside of me, just like clawing to get out. I hope you enjoyed this first part of my coming out story, first 18 years of my life, growing up in homophobia land, being a homophobe myself, and still being able to turn my life around, come to terms with myself and how I was interacting with the world, and change my ways. I think that my story proves that everyone is possible of growth and evolution and change. We're all at different parts of our journey, at different parts in our life. We all are capable of change and learning, and a lot of it just comes from ignorance and just not knowing different possibilities exist. Thank you for tuning in to this vlog. I'll be back in the next couple of weeks to pick up where I left off when I went to college, started interacting with gay culture, got really involved with a Christian community, and all of the things that transpired from there. Wishing you a great week and sending love. Until next time.